As the prophet Tuco once told us, when it's time to shoot, shoot, don't talk. Hi everyone, welcome to Active Self-Protection, where every day we post a real-life video of somebody getting in a defensive gunfight or other defensive encounter so that your training and your practice can be more research informed. I am your host, as always, John Correa.
And I'm your co-host, Mike Williver. Today's video comes to us from Charm City, Baltimore, Maryland.
MagTech is the only freedom seed I use on the range. I personally have over 100,000 rounds downrange of MagTech, and it's unbelievably reliable, very accurate, and a great value. Pick some up for your next range trip wherever you shop for range supplies. Multiple 911 calls have come in about a man threatening a woman with a knife. These officers are first to respond. We have badge cam audio. Let's listen in.
Lafayette's up here, right? Yeah. This last 66 street when I was aggravated, so I think they got the wrong address. So hey, send more units, send more units. Send more units! Get down! They know 13. Get down! Get down! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Send more units! Send more units! Sir, drop the knife! Drop the knife! Sir, drop the knife! Hey, back up! Back up! Sir, drop the knife! Hey, swing around! We need a crime scene, hurry up! Get that! Hey, drop the knife! Drop the knife! Sir, drop the knife! Drop the knife! Drop the... Don't move! Don't move! Ma'am, are you okay? Don't move! Sir, don't move! Hey!
Our perp turns out to be a known community activist. You can read all about it at the news stories that I've linked in the description. But, I mean, given what he was doing, that is what it is. He did not make it through his injuries. The woman here in this case was not badly injured. He didn't end up actually stabbing her with that knife, thankfully. Charm City?
Yeah. Well, Philly's brotherly love. I mean, what's the difference?
Okay, all right.
Wouldn't
I
live
was just
either
thinking
one.
maybe it stands for something else.
You got me.
Well, anyways, let's look at the lessons. I do think a good reminder here, the call is a man with a knife threatening a woman, so great opportunity here, Mike, to practice your deep breathing and to prepare yourself mentally for what might come so that you can perform in the moment if you need to.
Yeah, it's a very easy thing on a call like this when you're rushing to the scene to just be thinking about getting there. This is time that you have, right? You're obviously in a hurry. You're focusing a lot on driving, especially, and not running anyone over necessarily. However, this is time. This is the time for you to control your breathing, think about what you're about to see, to prepare yourself mentally for that. For maybe do a mental rep or two on your way over there, because once you get there, it's time to get in action. And that's exactly what this officer did.
He really did. I mean, the call is man with a knife who is threatening a woman. You get on scene, what do you find? You find the guy with the knife right here, and you see him threatening a woman who is currently on the ground. Guess what needs to happen now? That guy needs to get stopped, and that probably means you need to shoot him. So the officer makes an incredibly quick decision and gets right to work and runs into that. And I think he really deserves credit for that, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think it might seem obvious to someone who's never been in the military or law enforcement that, yeah, this is what you do. As we see from the partner on the other side of the car, that isn't automatically what you do. If you haven't prepared yourself mentally for this sort of thing, you're going to come up short in the moment of truth. And that's kind of what happened to the partner. We'll talk more about him later. But it's not an automatic thing to rush towards danger. It's something that you have to have thought about ahead of time or done before, one of the two, or both. These mental reps are so important so that when it comes down to it, you're not guessing or wondering, what should I do? How should I approach this? You already know. You got to get into action now. There's multiple people over here, not just the woman, whose lives are at stake. And they live in Baltimore. The odds of them having a CCW are still to this day pretty slim. So it's incumbent upon you, the officer. You're the rescue. You're the help. So you have to get into action and do it quickly. And again, that's what he did. I was very impressed. He didn't hesitate for a moment. And I also like that he pushed in on this. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a moment.
Listen, Use this, officers, as your mental rep. Okay, I find myself in this situation. I hope every time you see one of these badge cams, it's not just, hey, that happened to some guy, but rather for all of us, I put myself in that situation. What do I do in this situation? How do I respond in this situation? How can I lead to a positive outcome here? And you do that. These kind of mental reps that you get out of this, if you will put yourself in that situation and play through it yourself, can help you to be ready in that moment when your number is called. Mike, you alluded to it just a second ago. I love the fact that he realizes, man, there's a lot of people around. I can't probably take a shot from here right this second. So what he's going to do is drive in on this guy until he gets to a spot where he can hit him. Now, it's an interesting thing here because, all right, I want to be professional here, right? But this looks like to me like whether, I'm not sure if she tried to shimmy out from under him and that's why he's in the position he is, or he's doing some kind of weird sexual fantasy where, you know, he's trying to like put his face in her crotch or something like that. But however that looks out, that means that she's not underneath him, which makes this a much easier and less risky shot.
Yep. We promised we would never say butthole check again, but that's exactly what happens here is this guy gets checked. I also want to say that the person standing just to the right of our offender, listen, if this is you, if you see something like this going down and all of a sudden the police are rushing up with guns out, it would behoove you to get out of the area, to get away from that and get as far away as you can, because you don't know the expertise level of the officer wielding the firearm, right? He could be Barney Fife and have no idea what he's doing. So I would get out of there if I were you. And yeah, I don't see any other avenue for him. There's no giving verbal commands at this point. He's literally partially on top of her with a knife out, and that's the call that you got. And like John said, sometimes when you get to the scene, dispatch did a great job, and it's exactly what you were anticipating, and that's what happened here. I think pressing in, getting closer was the right thing to do. Now, did that give him a chance to get closer to her? Yes, but I think it was still the appropriate action on this officer's part.
I would like the record to show that it was Mike who initiated the talk of the butthole check, not me, that was absolutely a Mike Williver initiation this time. Although it's the correct answer. Butthole check this guy all day long. And this is how somebody gets justifiably shot in the back 100% of the time. This is justifiable shooting. Remember, your marksmanship does matter here, officers. And you're like, well, this is a pretty easy shot. Yeah, but there's a lot of innocent people around, and if you miss, then they are in danger, so you got to get hits. I know there's going to be some discussion about the last shot too, Mike, because he's going to shoot him a whole bunch. I don't have any problem with any of these whatsoever because the guy is still a threat to other people around. Now, he waits a second, and then I know this last one, people are going to be, why did he do that? But if you look, he's moving his hand up. The officer is like, he's made a decision. Why? Because this guy, you can see with his left hand on the right side for us, he is pushing up with his right hand with the knife still. He's making the kind of gesture that looks like he is starting to get up again. And that could be a threat to everybody else who's around here. So he makes the decision, no, I'm going to shoot him again. I don't have any problem with that decision when you slow it down. When I watched it in real speed, I was like, ooh, that last shot looked crazy. But once we slowed it down, my guess is I have not talked to this officer. I have not read the internal affairs report. I haven't read any of the reports. Well, I've read the one that we've linked in the description, but not any of the interviews with the officers. My guess is that last shot, though, was because of this furtive gesture.
Yeah, if you're not sure about this, go back and watch. John and I watch these numerous times before we do these breakdowns. Go back and watch it again in full speed. At no point is the suspect doing what the officer wants him to do, which is to lay down, preferably without a knife in his hand. He's armed the entire time. He's moving the entire time. He's making a bunch of gestures, like a bunch of movements, as though he's trying to stand back up again, which we don't want to have happen because there's a bunch of innocent people standing around. And this last shot, yeah, John and I both understand why you would feel squeamish about it. We understand that. That's why we're addressing it. But I think it was justifiable. I don't love it, but I think it was justifiable because, yeah, he's still armed. He's still holding a knife in his hand, and it does appear as though he's trying to get up, which we don't want to have happen.
Yeah, and this is where we see that stop here again. Why single-handed shooting? Probably because he's on the radio, trying to radio what's going on. Remember, I get it. They want him on the radio quickly. And I've heard from some commenters that they're like, well, they want to get it on the radio so that it's on the record. It's on the record on his badge cam. That's all the record that I need, right? It being on the radio doesn't help anyone. Remember, win the fight with what you got available to you. You know that you are the solution to the problem. I'm also going to say here, Mike, the other officer, I didn't put their badge cam on our analysis. He's standing over there at the car, just kind of waiting for this officer to kind of do his job. And you see him just continuing to stand over there behind cover and wait. And eventually he's going to come back around.
But I got to be honest with you, man. If I'm the officer on the badge cam here, when this gets all done, me and my partner are going to have a long talk about whether he's okay and whether this is a good job for him.
The word I used when John and I talked about this breakdown before we hit the record button is useless. This is going to sound a little harsh, so maybe cover your ears. Listen, if this is you, if you're a police officer out in the field right now, if you're a federal, state, local, parole, probation, I don't care what it is. If you're in a law enforcement position and you already know that you're afraid to do part of your job, that's okay. Go do something else. And I'm not kidding. Go be a fireman, be a paramedic. If you're in law enforcement to help people, there's other ways to help people. But if you already know that you're afraid to do something like this, to move up, you need to find another job. Me and this officer, had I been the shooting officer, would have had a very serious discussion, and I would have flat refused to go out in the field with him ever again. And that sounds harsh, but that's the truth. I need my partner to back me up. That didn't happen here. However, the officer whose badge cam we're watching obviously had prepared himself mentally. He did have the marksmanship and the prudence and judgment to end this the only way it was going to end, and cover his ass.